guys, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here. We haven't done a live stream, I don't know, since Friday night. I've been doing a new thing where I'm uploading content. It is a way for me to ensure that everything goes smoothly with the all of those robots on YouTube. So bear with me. Thank you so much for hanging out and dealing with these changes. But it's more upgrades that we're doing on the channel and trying to deliver you the best content that I can. So earlier today, I had an upload about Lori Vallow, which goes through the entire court document. So if you are interested in that story, make sure you check that video out. And then I just uploaded a video not too long ago about Kale Lowry and Lindsay Chrisley and their podcast. If you have interest in this podcast, make sure you check out this video because there's a lot of details about what's going on and how you can help as a listener get them heard by their network. All right, so let's talk about some stuff related to the Dillards. Now, yesterday I did a stream where we talked about how Jill is sending her son to kindergarten, right? Like super exciting. Jill's going to kindergarten, yay! Or Israel's going to kindergarten, yay, Israel, right? So it's pretty awesome. And we know that there's been some changes. I mean, like I was looking through Derick's Twitter and I was like seeing stuff about him talking about how they were probably going to homeschool and that Jill was a really good homeschooler. But then he had mentioned that he went to public school and so they would always just sort of take it day by day. And now they've decided that they are going to enroll their son in public education. There's been a lot of changes in the last year. Jill has a lot of friends now that are sort of in the secular world, that they're still Christians, but they're not part of that fundamentalist world. And with that change, I think she's been open to new ideas, new thoughts. One of her good friends, Rachel, who she's constantly tagging on Instagram, has kids going to the same school. And apparently my subscribers say that this elementary school that they've enrolled Israel in is like one of the best ones in Arkansas. I mean, that's good. So with all that being said, I was digging around on their blogs, and I was like, how long has this stuff been going on with him sort of speaking out about them? And I found a blog from 2019 in May that I actually was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that. And I was flabbergasted, and I was amazed that this didn't get, I don't know if it got picked up or not. Sometimes their blog posts get widely read. They did this series where they talked about, being good, like, husbands and wives, and that went crazy because of their advice. It was ridiculous. But I don't remember seeing this one at all. And I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy, because I was still writing for Pathios at the time. So I would have been checking their blog because I was covering the Duggars when I was writing on Pathios. But then I was like, oh my gosh, I missed this one. And this is so unbelievable. It's called The Portrait of a Godly Mom. And it's all about Derick and his design of what he looked for in a wife. And you would be shocked. It has nothing to do with Michelle. And in fact, it's more about his mom and what a great role model she was. And he writes, my two favorite women in are my wife and my mother, and neither of them get as much praise as they deserve. Speaking of industrious women, the last verse of the book of Proverbs in the Bible says, give her of the fruit of her hands and let her works praise her in the gates. My mother is largely the reason I am blessed to be married to the most wonderful woman in the world, my wife, Jill. Growing up, my mother was the example of what I looked for in a wife and the mother of my children. Different people have their ideas about what a mom should look like. Some walk the walk and talk the talk, but are the farthest from what a Christian mother is called to be. A godly mother is not recognized by donning skirts, having long hair, or tattoo-free skin. Did you see that? Wearing skirts, long hair, and having tattoo-free skin. That is directly a dig at Michelle. 100%. So he's saying that they're They're not walking the walk. They're not talking the talk. He's basically saying they're full of BS. I don't know how I missed this. Anyways, he goes on to say, it's not a matter of whether she has a career outside the home or not, but instead a God-fearing mother is recognized by her character and her wise management of what God entrusts her with. Some receive the praise of man, but many are the unsung heroes who quietly provide the backbone of our families and the fabric of society. My wife and mother are examples of these moms. And then he goes on to say, from as early as I can remember, my mom woke up long before the light of day to make sure we had clean clothes and full bellies before school. She loved and supported my dad, and as a young woman, when both her adopted parents had died, she wisely invested her time and money in graduate school. She often worked long hours, wisely putting her skills to work as she made a living, not just for her own household, but also to have something to give to others. Regardless of her long work week, she had supper on the table and helped with homework late into the night. Before I could drive, she would drive me into town before swim practice started at 6 a.m., and there is scarcely anyone as positive and optimistic in a room as my mom. Whoops. Why is this doing this?
I think I might let you know.
As my mom. Where is this? Despite the cancer that the doctors thought that was a death sentence, she remained joyful and trusted in God's sovereign will. These are all character attributes that I saw in Jill that attracted me to her, besides how gorgeous she is. Likewise, if the Lord blesses us with daughters, these are the qualities I hope and pray that they would receive from their grandmother and mother. Oftentimes, we have no idea the extent of our influence, and this is especially true of a godly legacy. Some people refer to it as the butterfly effect, but in reality, it's the providence of God. But for the influence of my mom, I doubt I would have realized the value of Jill's godly character, which led me to marry her. My wife is the most amazing woman I have ever met, and she deserves praise for all she does as a wife and a mother, which I again think is probably a slight dig at her parents. Jill is one of the most gifted people I know, and she could literally do whatever she wants, but she chooses to undertake some of the most difficult jobs out there. I say some because there's really no single job title for what she does, which includes but isn't limited to being a domestic engineer, in-home care provider, multi-level educator, contemporaneous researcher in multiple fields, chef, consumer finance expert, clothing technician, leads those around her, but most of all, she's my best friend and lover. Knowing my wife, I recalled something I heard my mom say years ago, which holds a new meaning for me today. Working for a large company, my mom was in charge of logistics for multiple countries, and she once commented that her corporate responsibilities often paled in comparison to her family logistical challenges. I don't know how she managed it, but my mom seemed to do it all. As a teenager, I soon realized she wasn't doing it all on her own, but she was relying on supernatural power and her relationship with Heavenly Father. So I'm like, this is why he is not, because a lot of people have been like, oh, you just want her to stay at home, you just want her to do this, you just want her to do that. But he's actually said repeatedly, and listen, put his politics aside. We know he says some really crappy things, right? Put all of that to aside. Like, this is completely opposite than what Jill grew up in. Jill grew up in where they said your sole goal is to have like a million zillion kids. Your only job is to have a million zillion kids. You must breed them, take care of them, keep the house clean, stay sweet, be pretty, keep yourself thin, all of that crap, right? And Derick's basically saying Jill can do whatever she wants because my mom showed me that women don't have to do just one thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing. Unreal. So I'm like, maybe he wasn't lying when he said that Jill can work if she wants to, Jill can run for governor if she wants to, Jill can do whatever she wants to. Maybe part of the reason she's putting her kids into public schools because she wants to have some time by herself. Maybe she wants to do a little work on her own. Maybe her legacy isn't defined by her simply being a mother and a caregiver to Derick. Maybe it's doing her own thing. Maybe it's spreading her wings. Maybe it's taking college courses. who knows? I don't like Derick's politics, but I don't mind a husband that's supportive of their wives, and I certainly don't mind a husband that sticks up for his wife and defends them against the patriarchal bullcrap that they went through as a child. And more, as I'm digging through all of their stuff, this rift hasn't just happened over a minute. It's literally been festering for years. And maybe Jim Bob met his match with Derick because honestly, this is one of the most progressive things I've ever seen one of the husbands say. I mean, we knew that Derick's mother was worked full time. She has a master's degree. He went to public school. He's like the most worldly of all of these men. So I'm actually impressed. And it sounds like his mom is a pretty awesome lady. So politics aside, I can get on board with the way that he's talking about Jill and he's talking about his mom. Now, one thing I would say is, Derick, hey, why don't you pitch in? With Jill doing all that stuff, I think you could help too. Now, for instance, I spent my day being the domestic goddess, but I trade off with my husband. So today it was my husband's birthday. I made him breakfast. I took care of my son so that he could relax. I made him dinner. But then tonight he decided, hey, I want to put our son to bed because I want to spend time with him on my birthday. Because you know what? The 21st century means a shared amount of responsibilities, and working moms need help from their hubbies. It shouldn't always fall on us ladies. All right, I like the way that he speaks about Jill. I like the way that he says she can do what she wants. And I'm just going to keep hoping that she keeps on doing what she wants. And I just love that he shaded Michelle and said, it's not about the long hair you have and the dresses that you wear. Oh, touche, Derick. Oh, touche. All right, you guys, I'll be back in a little while. Bye, guys.